Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. As most of you know, my name is Linda Vance. I'm a registered bioenergetics practitioner and advanced theta emotional healer. I bring with me over 30 years of medical background and experience, including nursing background and registered massage therapy background. I decided to go back to school, one of the best moves I've ever made, once again, and I graduated in the year 2010 from the Institute of Natural Health Technologies as a holistic allergist. About a year and a half ago, they changed our designation with Health Canada from holistic allergist to registered bioenergetics practitioner. Firstly, I'd just like to take a moment and have everybody think of what is the meaning of the word dis-ease. Basically, the word dis-ease is just the result of an imbalance somewhere in the body. With BIE, Bioenergetics Intolerance Elimination, it enables the body to achieve balance. There's no needles, there's no drugs. It's a natural way for your body to heal itself. And the best thing is it does work. It's very accurate, and this method does work. I now want to give you some examples of some imbalances in the body. So I'm going to name some imbalances, and if you have suffered from or ever suffered from any of these imbalances, I want you to raise your hands. So we'll start with allergies, whether they're food or environmental. So if you've ever had any kind of allergy or intolerance, raise your hand. Next one is asthma. Have you ever had asthma or suffered from asthma? Raise your hand. What about anxiety? How about bloating, like on a regular basis? Okay, that's one for lots. Any kind of digestive disorders, whether it's Crohn's or anything in the digestive system, raise your hand. Yeah, everybody's raised their hand pretty much by now. Anybody know any children that have a lot of hyperactivity, like ADD, ADHD? Raise your hand. Yeah, lots of kids out there. That can often be related to foods. I see children with that, and they're often food additives and sugars that are, when I work with that, their hyperactivity decreases. How about sleep issues? That's a big one. I have a lot of clients that have come for other things, and then we realize they have sleep issues too. And sometimes just clearing people of foods, their sleep issues just dissipate. Otherwise, I have other files as well that I work with. Anybody ever suffered from like eczema, hives, rashes of any sort? Sinus problems? That can be a big one with environmental. Hormonal issues is another one I see a lot of clients for. Hormonal issues as in blood sugars, like type 2 diabetes. A lot of people that come and see me that have type 2 diabetes have gotten off of their medications. Thyroid imbalances is another one I see a lot of. And female hormonal imbalances. A lot of us have problems with that one too. So I'm going to ask you again to think a moment and raise your hands if you could alleviate these symptoms and your body could heal itself naturally. Would you be interested? With BIE, Bioenergetic Intolerance Elimination, your body does heal itself. We have an electrical current that runs through our body, and this is proven with science and physics. But the electrical current produces an energy magnetic vibrational field that runs through and around our body. And I know it's kind of confusing for most of us because we can't see that. But this is, however, proven by science. Actually, this is how they do MRIs in the hospital and how based upon this energy vibrational field through and around the body. And this is, when you see me do your testing, this is a lot to do with this energy field through and around the body. If your energy system in your body is balanced, again, your body can heal itself. So I'm going to take a few minutes and show you exactly how I test and how BIE works. And Diane has offered to be my volunteer. Thank you very much, Diane. Firstly, I'm just going to get you to take off your necklace because sometimes things like metal or watches can affect the testing. The earrings are fine, and maybe just your jacket. Be a little bit less constricted there. Now this won't hurt. It's very non-invasive, the testing. I brought some samples of some vials, and this is what I work with for testing. The testing is kinesiology or muscle testing. It's the most accurate way in the world to test. These are free energy frequency vials. I have thousands of them. Today I brought some for dairy sweeteners and some of my grains, just because those are kind of regular ones for food allergies that I deal with. But I also have vials for the endocrine system, your hormones, environmental. I have 75 plants and pollens for people that suffer from intolerances of plants and pollens. I can test your system to see if you're absorbing amino acids, vitamins, minerals, things like that, depending on what your issues are that you come to me with, depending on what vials I will work with. But for today, we have dairy, sugars, sweeteners, and grains. So these are the vials. They're very small vials, and these are what the energetic frequencies are in. So I will put vials against your muscle. If your muscle becomes weak, then that means your body's not accepting of that frequency, and that means there's an issue in your body with the frequency. Then I take the vials that you react against, and I put them on the GSR 120 machine, and I'll just show you how I'll display that in just a moment. So, I don't know if you have any intolerances, but we're going to test and soon find out. Before I can test, I have to test Diane's polarity, which is the flow of energy through and around the body. For most of us, the flow goes like this. We can't see it again, but that's the way the flow is supposed to go through and around the body. But on occasion, for many, many reasons, your energy flow could be backwards, and I have to test that initially. If your flow is backwards, then my test results will not be correct. So we'll see if your energy flows correctly. So one way I can test is I just want you to put your arm up like this. Okay, so I'm just going to apply a little pressure. You can't have your legs crossed. Good. Most women do cross their legs. And don't let me push your arm down. Perfect. Now, I want you to take your other hand and put it flat on your head like that, Diane. Okay, don't let me push your arm down. I want you to hold. Good and strong. Okay, palm to the ceiling like this. Okay, don't let me push down. Don't let me push down. Yeah. That's freaky. Yeah, you just lose your strength completely because we're like a magnet. I talked about the electrical current and things in your body. Your palm is positive, the back of your hand is negative. So you know when you used to do that in science where you take the two magnets, they reject or they accept. The same thing with your body. That's all to do with this energy magnetic flow through and around the body.
Isn't that backwards?
No, that means you're frontwards. You're good. Thank goodness, because I'd have to work on your polarity if needed. So that's the first thing I do just to make sure for accuracy of the test results. Okay, so I don't know if you have any food intolerances, but I'm going to check and see if I can find any food intolerances. Okay. So I'm looking at the grains kit. A lot of people have grain intolerances, so I'm going to try a few grains. And you've never had this kind of testing done, correct? Okay. So here's one of the grain vials. So take this little vial in that hand and hold it against the muscle right there. I can use different muscles, but just on the outside of your clothes, it'll go right through, just like that. Okay, so put your arm straight out again. Okay, so don't let me push down. Hold. Nice and strong. So that's oats, so there isn't an issue for you for that one. Okay, what else can we try? Number 27. Wheat, white flour. So let's just try, see if there's anything. Yep, right in here, right in the crease here, sort of. Yep, perfect. Okay, that's good. Okay, so hold tight. Don't let me push down. Okay, so we found something.
That doesn't surprise me. Doesn't a lot of people react to white flour?
Yeah, a lot of people. That's white wheat flour.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of people do. So I would take that.
So I never eat white
So
flour.
I would take, like I would test the client like for 30 grains, plus I have about 10 more grains in another kit. And then I would take all the vials and put them on this machine. So we'll test for a couple more just to see what happens. Here's whole wheat flour, since we've sort of hit something that might be a weakness for you. Okay, good. Hold tight, don't want to push it. See, there is some weakness. Not as much as the other vial, but there's a, not as much as the white, but there is a little bit of weakness. How about wild rice? That's another grain. Nice and strong. See, you don't have a problem with that.
I eat a lot of wild rice.
Yeah, that's good. You don't have an issue. Yeah. No, you were nice and strong. So what would happen, say a client came to me and they said, oh, you know, I have gluten and grain intolerances, and maybe they've been tested before, maybe not. So I test with all my vials. So say they get bloated, some people get rashes, other people they have some digestive disorders happening. When they're ingesting, we'll just say for grains, when they're ingesting those grains and they have an issue with them, the body for some reason doesn't recognize the frequency and thinks it's something foreign. So it releases toxins into the bloodstream to try and dilute it. Because your body always tries to protect yourself. That's what your body does, right? So these toxins then run systemic through the bloodstream. So people come and they're maybe getting bloated, or maybe they're getting a headache, or maybe they're getting a rash, because those toxins are going somewhere. And after long term, a lot of people come and they've got Crohn's or other digestive disorders that have happened over, maybe a longer term. So what I do is I put all the grain vials that person's reacting to on the machine. And I don't have the machine plugged in, so I'm just going to demonstrate without it being on of how I would do this. And you get to lay down, have a nice pillow, and be relaxed. It's non-invasive. It doesn't hurt. You won't feel a thing. But like I said, it's not plugged in right now, but I'm just going to kind of give you an idea. So what's happening is these vials, the frequency is going through the machine, going into your cell, like not even like acupuncture needles. It's going right into the cell. So the frequency is going into the cell. So the cell literally resets itself, so it stops reacting against whatever it's been reacting against. So say the grains. So then it takes about 10 days for the cell to reset itself. So then your body stops reacting. So you stop bloating. Some people lose weight. Some people have rashes. They stop getting those rashes. Some people, there's all different things that can happen when you have an intolerance or sensitivity. So what I would do is have you hold on to the ground wire. And this is not plugged in, like I said. So the client would hold on to the ground wire. And then I would take this and I would just go to certain acupressure points, hold, and the machine beeps when I'm done. And I go into different acupressure points in the body, and then the frequency of the grains, if that's what you're having problems with, goes into your cell resets itself, stops reacting, and your cell balances for whatever I put on the machine. As simple as that.
How long does it stay reacting?
That's a good question. I have some questions at the end, and that is one of them. I can answer that quickly now. They don't have people come back. Like once, let's say you came to me and you had grains and gluten. They've been doing this for 15 years, they've never had anybody come back and have the same allergen. So it seems to be very, very long term, which is great. Yeah.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, it totally works. It's so accurate. There's no needles. It's no pain. I work with babies, children. The only time I can't work on someone, we don't have the studies behind us, for someone that's pregnant, or if somebody has a pacemaker because of the electrical system in the body. Those are the only two contraindications. Yeah, that's it. Anybody else I can work on. Yeah, so it's fascinating, and it does work. It's something like 98% success rate.
When can I make an appointment? That's really interesting.
Yeah,
wow.
It's totally. Yeah, so I thought I'd bring a little bit of a sample today so that you can kind of, I can talk about this, but until you kind of experience or see how you become weak, it's kind of like, wow, yeah. I even have clients that will hold the vial and just say, oh, don't even test me. That just went right through me. I've had clients feel nauseated from holding vials that they have high intolerances to. Wow. Yeah, I had a little boy recently that I didn't know. They came in for a complimentary consultation, and Mom said, oh, can you test him to cashew? So I said, sure. I took the cashew vial, and he held it, and his arm went right down. And he gave it back to me and said, oh God, my hand's really hurting now. And I didn't realize that he was anaphylactic. They didn't tell me, but just from holding it, not that everybody that's anaphylactic would get that pain, but he actually was, for a few minutes, having pain in his hand from holding the vial.
So that can be reversed? Somebody that's got an allergy to nuts?
I have to work a lot with it, and then they have to see a medical allergist. Like I have to put the vials on like 4 times. and some different vials as well. And then they have to wait until they get approval from a medical allergist if we're talking anaphylactic.
Oh,
But I have worked with people with nut allergies like that, yes. Yeah.
good.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
Well, thank you.
So I do offer complimentary consultations for, people that, because, people are like, you can do what? They don't really understand. So people can come in, talk about what their issues are. I can explain what I can do and help. I can do some testing like I did with you just to show them, and then they can decide whether they want to move forward with
Great.
BIE.
We need a video done of this so that we can go on YouTube and watch it.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, I know this sounds a little out there, but it does work. It totally works. I wouldn't have gone back to school. It was the best thing I ever did. It's incredible. At first, even when I was looking into taking the course, I found it was, like unbelievable that I must have phoned 30 BIE practitioners and asked them, and they all said the same thing. Yeah, don't worry about that. It works. So, yeah, it's proven to be accurate, safe, and natural, even with children. I'll just give you a couple of examples of some testimonials that I've experienced in the years that I've been doing this. I have a client here in Aurelia that had a lot of food intolerances, and she was very nervous. I did the walnuts because her tongue would actually swell. Like she really had to avoid walnuts and be extremely careful. And so I worked with her, and she said, oh, I'm too afraid to try the walnuts. I said, you can eat walnuts now. And she's like, oh, no, I'm too afraid. But then we worked with a lot of other foods, and she became more confident at the results she was getting. So one day she comes into me, she goes, oh, you won't. She goes, I was out with a friend, and she had a trail mix, and there was a little tiny, tiny, tiny piece of walnut. And I said, oh, I'm going to try it, she said. So she put it on her tongue, and she said, I'm sitting there waiting for my tongue to swell. Like, even though you did that, I just thought it would swell, and she said, I'm waiting and waiting. Nothing happened. Well, now she'll go buy a brownie full of walnuts. Nothing happens anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. I had another client with wheat and gluten intolerance. And after just one time working with the grains and wheats, she comes back 2 weeks later. I usually see clients 10 days to 2 weeks. It takes that long for the cell to reset itself. So she comes back and she's like, oh, look at me, look at me. She dropped 10 pounds. I had another male client working with food allergies. He dropped 60 pounds just from clearing them because it's a lot of inflammation in the body and bloating. So she dropped the weight, and she didn't have the diarrhea and everything else that was going on when she had any kind of like grain products. And so there's another testimonial. A client of mine that works at Casino Rama, she's a dealer. She's around people with perfume. It's a big one, and you can't avoid it in your job, right? So she would sneeze, and her eyes would water, etc. Well, after working with perfumes with her, with the machine, she no longer has those adverse effects. So, yeah, so there's just a few testimonials that I would like to share with you. There are BIE practitioners all over Canada and the States. We also have updated training on a monthly basis through Skype. So it used to be once a year we'd go for 2 days and have to recertify with the Institute, but now we're doing the monthly basis. So it's really great because they're always coming up with new ideas, new things. We share ideas, things like that. You can find BIE practitioner at the website bieclinics.com. I work here in Aurelia. I was working in Burlington, and I moved my practice up here a few years ago. I'm in with Dr. Lawrence LaFrance at Optimum Potential. Like I said earlier, I offer complimentary consultations, so they're totally free. So you can come and have a chat with me. I can test you, show you how I test, and explain everything a little more in detail. So if you know anybody that would like to book a complimentary consultation, or if you'd like to book one, 705-325-5152. They've been doing this for about 15 years, and people don't come and have to be cleared of the same substance. It seems to be on a long-term basis as far as we know for the 15 years. Okay, a lot of people don't understand this because they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, I don't have any food intolerances. Meanwhile, they're showing symptoms. There's a lot of symptoms. Fatigue is a big one, or brain fog, sleeplessness. There's just hundreds of symptoms. So what they don't understand is a lot of people think, oh, I have a food intolerance. Right away I'll get a rash or something like that. It can take like up to about 2 days to actually show the symptoms, because that inflammation thing again happening, right? So maybe a couple days later where you're just dragging yourself and you're thinking, why am I so tired today? But it could have been something you ate 2 days ago, and I don't even think about what I ate 2 days ago myself. There's really no known side effects. The only thing I should explain is, and I do explain this to the clients, is that you may have what we call a healing crisis. A healing crisis may happen like your body, your cell is actually, after BIE, is releasing all the toxins. So sometimes if they release a little quickly, you may get a little bit of a headache, you may feel a little off, things like that. A lot of clients I see aren't that well, so they don't even notice anything. They'll be like, I never have a healing crisis. And sometimes you won't have one, and then all of a sudden, maybe for dairy you're fine, and then maybe we clear you for grains, and then you're like, I did feel something, a couple days after I felt a little off or something like that. So that's just the toxins releasing out of the body. But other than that, no, we don't know of any side effects. Okay, firstly, I just want to explain that most people unfortunately do not have medical coverage. You can put the receipt on as a medical expense because I'm a registered practitioner. So you can, use the receipt on your income tax return. For your first appointment, which I usually test you to about 96 foods, just to get an idea where you're at. So we usually do a full panel of 96 foods. Plus then I will do a BIE treatment. So that cost is $185 plus HST. And then however many times you come back to see me after that, the cost is $60. So it's very reasonable for the results that you get. And clients come back again every 10 days to 2 weeks because it takes that long for the cell to actually reset itself. So I don't see a client any sooner than that.